10 years of live streaming, $100,000 in gear, what you really need. It's been 10 years since I started my video production business. Just days after I had quit my job at the Apple Store, I was still living in my parents' house. In this video, I'm going to share 3 big lessons that I learned in building a multiple six-figure business, and I'll also dive into what you really need. After being in business for a decade, I've gone through a lot of gear, and I've spent tons of money on things I needed and things I didn't need. Let's start off with 3 big lessons that I learned along the way. Coming in at number 1 is don't buy everything at once. It's so easy to look at what other people are doing and to think that they're doing it the best way or the right way. But the truth is, you're going to find out a lot about how you operate and what works best for your needs out in the field. A lot of my videos I've shared here show the evolution of working with the A10 Mini when it first came out, graduating step by step into the Constellation 2ME switcher, and eventually using a whole collection of custom-built rack cases. The best way to approach this is to either bring on the people that have the gear you think you might want, or to consider renting from companies like Borrow Lenses or Lens Rentals, since you can easily bill these expenses to the client while you learn what gear might work best for you. By the way, in the description below the video, I've got a link for $25 off your first rental with Lens Rentals. Be sure to grab that to save some extra dough. This brings me to the second lesson that I learned, and that is you don't have to own all of the equipment, and it's not relevant information that the client needs to know. When I first landed bigger projects that intimidated me, I brought in a colleague of mine that had been doing this twice as long as I had. That means that I had access to more expensive equipment that I didn't own, and at the end of the day, I could get the client the result that they needed while paying my colleague for his time and his gear. Middleman situations like this happen all the time. Think about when you go shopping for a hotel or a flight. You might go to Priceline or Hotels.com to try to find the best deal. They don't own the hotel, they're just getting you what you need with the same desired outcome. They still make their money in the end. This brings me to my third lesson, and then we'll talk about what you do and do not need. Lesson number 3 is all about money. Chances are you aren't charging enough, and I don't care if you're charging $1,000 or $100,000. Chances are you could be charging more. If you provide a high quality service, if you are good at what you do, if you care about the clients, then you're probably like me. I'm constantly answering those extra emails, going out of my way to make the client feel comfortable and showing them that we go the extra mile. They don't see the hours of charging batteries, loading up equipment, securing a crew, traveling to the venue, or anything that happens prior to event day. Even still, on event day, most clients don't comprehend how much you are really doing to make sure the event goes off smoothly. So lesson number 3 is about charging more. If you're bringing on a freelancer at $1,000 for the day, you should be billing $1,200 or even $1,500. Why? Well, let's think about it. Let's say they need parking, coffee and breakfast, lunch, and even though you booked them for a 10-hour day, the event ran late, so they were really there for 11 hours, and now you need to pay overtime. By building in the extra buffer, you not only cover your expense of paying out the contractor, but you pocket some extra profit for yourself for handling all of that. Oh, and did I mention the expenses of payroll software or the time you spend doing their 1099 tax form at the end of the year? This is why you build in overhead. So to recap, my 3 lessons I've learned over 10 years are 1, don't buy everything at once, 2, you don't have to own all the gear, and 3, charge more than you think you should. Now let's talk about what you really need to be successful in this business. The first thing that you really need is a system for getting clients. Let go of this thought that work will simply flow to you just because you wrote an email or made a cold call. Before the invention of the internet, cold calling was all we had, but as the world has grown, there are much better ways of building a connection with a potential client. Like in the real world, face-to-face. Relying on websites like Thumbtack is a surefire way to fail in business. These websites are great for people trying to hunt down the lowest price and get the bare minimum for a service. They are prioritizing price over everything else. While you can start with them to get some portfolio work, don't bank on that being the move for the long term. My system is a 3-part system. The base layer is my sales team, but it's not a sales team in the traditional sense. My sales team includes current and past clients, friends, relatives, acquaintances, and beyond because I'm constantly sharing the work that I do on social media. People see it and then they remember that I'm the go-to person that they know for live streaming. The second layer of my system is my inner circle, and this consists of select few that constantly refer work to me. I found that they are the ones that are super connectors. They attend tons of networking events, and perhaps they're the leader of a bigger organization or networking group. Some of my whale projects financially were referred to me by just a few people. The third layer is my external circle. As you may know, I founded the Facebook group Videographers Connect, which has over 9,000 members worldwide. By participating in that group, I've built a reputation for myself in the industry as someone who can be trusted and someone who has the answers. A lot of people think of systems as this funnel of email sequences or opt-in pages, and that's one way of doing it. But I prefer to build the relationships so that I don't really have to do any of the work in obtaining the client. I simply build relationships, and when those connections send a client my way, it's not a matter of if we will work together, but how, because they trust me before they've even met me. I once saw a Reddit post titled, "How do you find your clients for corporate shoots?" And the poster said, "I've sent emails, but none seem to work." To which someone replied that what they really needed was to take time to make connections. Another response stated, "Trying to chase businesses directly is usually a terrible idea. The way to get consistent work is to network with other crew members that are in your area. Approach it from the bottom up, not the top down." This is exactly why the next thing that you really need is a network. Your network is your net worth. I'll say it again for those in the back. Your network is your net worth. It's not enough to just email 100 businesses and to ask if they need a video. They don't know who you are and why they should trust you, and they probably don't even understand the value of what a video would bring to them, let alone a live stream. This means you'll be more likely to meet people where you have to pitch them or justify your prices. They'll take forever to get your feedback on draft 18, or they might not even pay. What you really need is to go out into the community and to build relationships. Talk to people, volunteer, find ways to join social groups. Perhaps there are even events that your house of worship puts on to meet other people, or maybe you can work with a local soup kitchen. All of these things put you out there in front of other people in a low pressure environment where you aren't meeting someone for the sole purpose of trying to make money off of them, but rather to just meet people. So many of my absolute favorite clients were because someone else referred me. My yearly High Holidays client was referred to me by an IT firm in my networking group. I never had to cold email the synagogue, I never had to know the rabbi directly, I never had to convince them that my services were a worthwhile expense. The synagogue asked their IT guy if they knew someone that could live stream, and the IT guy knew me because I show up every Thursday morning to a networking group. Now, I want to put an asterisk next to this one. You really need an inner circle. What happens if you get sick? What happens if you get a double booking? What happens if your grandma dies and you need to attend a funeral, but you booked a whale of a gig? Building an inner circle of 3 to 5 people locally that you trust that could cover for you or even send gigs your way, I think is a must. This inner circle has saved my butt when I've mistakenly double booked or has covered gigs for me when I got sick. They're the people that will rent you a camera for a day because something isn't working right, or loan you extra batteries just to have backups. A system, a network, an inner circle. These are the keys to success if you're trying to build a business and make a living in this industry. Having the latest and greatest in gear doesn't mean that work will come pouring in. It's the connections and the network that you build that will be key to your success. Here's to growing your sales team. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.